I think honestly, one of the reasons why Bitcoin's gotten so quiet recently, and it's been really quiet, is that I think the market is expecting we're going to get some more framework on regulation. So you're not seeing big buyers come in, but at the same time, the sellers have been exhausted, at least for now. And so people are just waiting. When are we going to hear more information? And by the way, one thing I've said is that I think that when we do get that framework and the SEC releases the framework on the rules, and again, Bitcoin probably a commodity, most other things a security, but that's fine. But the question I have is, are there new rules for crypto securities that are different from stock securities like Apple or Microsoft? And I think that's what we're going to have to see. But I do think that once that happens, you do see a relief and a move up in crypto at that point.
Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Chief Market Strategist at InTheMoneyStocks.com and verified crypto investing Gareth Soloway updates about his most recent price prediction for Bitcoin, chances of a new bull run, and whether or not Bitcoin bottom is in. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video where Gareth Soloway reveals why Bitcoin will definitely hit the $100,000 mark soon.
People that are in Bitcoin now, and this is what's so unique about trading, is that if Bitcoin goes below 10,000, a lot of those same people will panic and then say, oh my God, I got to exit. And then only the strong, the people that are like 100% in no matter what, will be the ones that end up making money on the next bull run, because everyone else will wait and say, oh my goodness, I'm too scared to get involved. And that's the way markets work. You can go to commodities, you can go to stocks. The markets will push you to your limit. Like they will push you to your emotional limit to get you to do the wrong thing. And then as soon as you do the wrong thing, it goes the opposite way, the way you were hoping it would go.
Bitcoin starts the last week of October in a firmly average mood as the trading range to end all trading ranges continues to stick. After a welcome attempt to break out, Bitcoin remains bound to a narrow corridor now in place for weeks. Some of the lowest volatility in history means that Bitcoin has found a temporary function as a stablecoin. Even some major fiat currencies are currently more volatile. The longer the status quo drags on, however, the more convinced commentators are that a major trend change will enter.
Really, like you said, like so sideways and just consolidating. Number one, we have this beautiful, what we call a wedge pattern. So at least in the short term, if we can break above, I think you have a shot to maybe get up to about 25,000. So that's kind of cool if we can get the breakout. But please note, it hasn't happened yet. You're literally stuck in this tiny little triangle niche, and we need to see that breakout occur. But going back to what you were saying about like where we could be in the cycle and how it's just getting so quiet, look at what happened back in the previous cycle of 2017. And this is my only concern. So basically, we had that big fall down here from here's your 2017 high, lots of chop on the way down. And then look at what happened here. It just goes to sleep and then sleep. And look at how tight it got. And then all of a sudden, right?
It fell off the bed.
That's my only fear, right? Is that we're doing that kind of period. And then if it does start to break, it's going to be a big break. Ooh. And then but the positive is, all right, let's always look at the positives here.
Okay.
The positive is that was the final flush before the bottom. So even if this is what we're doing right here, at least if it dips, I'm a buyer. Heck yeah, I'm a buyer. Because at that point, then if we zoom out, look at what ends up happening, right? It bottoms out, curls up, and then this was just the beginning of the bigger bull run that eventually led us up to the current, double top high here. So it's a tricky one, right? I mean, it's like you look at these past charts and we know human behavior occurs or repeats over and over again, but you hope it's different this time. So we'll just have to see.
This week is as good as any, they argue. Macroeconomic data, geopolitical instability, and classic volatility around the monthly close are all factors at play when it comes to shaking up a decidedly boring Bitcoin market.
I think I've been impressed because the equity markets, the stock market has been heading generally down and Bitcoin's really been going sideways. So it's showing us glimpses of what it could be.
Yeah.
I do worry that it's not quite mature enough yet to fully kind of disconnect from the risk asset style that it's been kind of caught in. But there's no doubt that it's showing us glimpses of what it can do. And that's great. And again, we just have to remember that like you're 16, right? So I guess Bitcoin would be the equivalent of a 13-year-old. So
Yes.
your 13-year-old can show signs of maturity, but at the same time, they're still going to be immature because they're a 13-year-old sometimes too. So you're seeing that kind of mid-level where sometimes it's doing the right thing, sometimes it's still kind of crazy.
Bitcoin offered some interesting price behavior into the October 23rd weekly close, BTC USD seeing its largest green hourly candle in days before topping out at $19,700.
If you think about the run up that we had here, it was exactly what you're saying. It's like, was it fake? I mean, obviously price action was real. People
Yes.
made money, people lost money, but there was so much money. I mean, in the US, we had the government sending checks out to people. People were home from COVID, and so they weren't driving and spending money on vacations. I mean, there was so much extra money plus quantitative easing from the Fed that the question is if we didn't have COVID, would we have ever gotten this high on Bitcoin? I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what
the
I'm
crazy
saying.
thing about it.
While traditionally not as impactful to crypto markets as the Consumer Price Index, PCE nonetheless becomes a critical point this time around. The week after, we will see the Federal Reserve meeting to decide on interest rate hikes based on specific data inputs including PCE and CPI.
Yeah, I agree. It's by no means are we at a bottom yet, because the one thing I remember clearly from 2018 after we topped in 2017 is when we did hit the bottom, people were like, there were a lot of people that were giving up on Bitcoin at that point, and we haven't
Yes.
seen that yet. So it does make me think there's that one final flush where finally you'll get to see that, which is a kind of that mentality. Now, in the short term, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we did see a short-term relief rally, and if we could just break above this line, we would get it. I mean, I think you'd get a little short squeeze even above it. But again, even if we pop up, then I still, for me, it's still telling me further downside, which again, I hate to say, I hate to be that person, but also the charts are what I follow, and it still doesn't look like we've fully bottomed out yet. But as I said, buying opportunity, like you want it, and by the way, can I just say something here quick?
Yeah.
So last year, Bitcoin was like 65, 69,000. I come out and I'm like, hi guys, charts are saying we're going to 20. Like, just beware. Oh, you're crazy, Gareth. You're smoking that too much of that stuff, whatever they said. And then people were like on Twitter, they're like, you know what, if Bitcoin gets to 20 again, oh my God, I'm going to sell my kidney to buy Bitcoin, right? Well, here we are at 20, and I don't see anyone selling their kidney.
The market currently overwhelmingly expects another 75 basis point hike, keeping pressure on risk assets including Bitcoin. But last week already saw rumors of a softening of the Fed's stance to come.
It does, like more so at highs and lows. So for instance, making higher highs on lower volume is a concern, because when you have lower volume but you're making higher highs, like we saw in October, November from the April, May highs, that tells you that big money is not buying in heavily, right? So generally we want to follow the bigger money, the whales, and because they're the ones that have the ability to get the research, that know, they're kind of the smarter money. And so that's a good indicator. That was showing us in October, November to be very, very careful. And then also at lows, when you see big flushes on heavy volume, you're usually flushing out a lot of the weaker hands. And if you get a bottoming tail, what's called a bottoming tail, it tells you that there's big money buying all that up. And that's why the price is bouncing back. So there are signals with volume that you do pay attention to.
Back to within Bitcoin, and a sense of unease is brewing over network fundamentals and the health of the mining sector. A look at the data offers unusual yet not entirely welcome conclusions. The hash rate may be at all-time highs, but the growth is likely unsustainable and will come at a cost.
Yeah, so I think the big things like support resistance lines. So for instance, it's amazing to look at the charts and just see how levels kind of play out over and over again. So you can connect, I mean, literally you can connect this high to this high, and it gave you the exact high here, the high here, and then right here.
Wow.
And one of the things I know from trading for 20 years is that the more you hammer on a trend line, the weaker it becomes. So the more you hammer on this upside line, it's essentially like a door that you're hammering on. Let's say you got to break through that door. Your kitty's inside, the house is on fire, and the door is locked. You bang that door as hard as you can. Probably first, second, third time, you're not breaking it down. But if you hit it enough, you will break it down. And so that's why I'm keeping an eye. The more hits we get on this upper trend line, if we can pop out, then that would be bullish. The problem is, same thing works on the downside line here, which would be a breakdown. So if we start hammering on this lower line, that would be problematic. But
So what is your take on Gareth Soloway's Bitcoin bottoming analysis? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.